So today I'm going to be talking about improving the U.S.-China education exchange. So I've broken this presentation into four parts: the context of the issue, the history of the issue, the scope of the issue today, and then my policy recommendation. So for the context of the issue, Xi Jinping has recently expressed interest in increasing the U.S.-China education exchange. Um, to great extent. He wants to bring in tens of thousands of U.S. students into China to learn at their schools. Um, Education exchange helps build new insights through cultural relations. The U.S. is often um, it's called a melting pot of new ideas. And one way that we have our American students gain new ideas is from traveling to new countries and getting new cultural insights um, about about what they learned. Since the COVID-19 pandemic, the amount of American students visiting China has significantly decreased by approximately 44.8%. And we have not seen it increase since, which is not a good sign for the state of U.S.-China relations in the education sector. So, for a brief history of the issue, um, the U.S.-China education exchange began in around 1978 when then President Deng Xiaoping sent 3,000 students from China to the U.S. to learn, in which the U.S. responded by also sending students to China. Um, China has since then had the most students study abroad in the US by a very significant margin. If you look on the graph on the right, we can see that China's number of students almost doubles the second place country. Um, China has since had the most students study abroad in the US um, out of any country, which means that this is a very significant portion of our student population that we need to be uh, taken care of to the best of our ability. Um, the number of American students visiting China had increased by 500% in the past, but since COVID-19 has sharply decreased, and we have not seen any return to form. And American students who are studying in China still need their rights advocated for by the US government. So making sure that the US government is paying attention to uh, the issues that American students may face in China is very important. So for the scope of the issue today, there's not much collaboration between the US and China as far as schools are concerned. There is some in the extent of the fact that colleges are allowed to freely exchange research, and of course, students can move between the countries, not freely, but they are able to move between the countries. Um, we have seen more Chinese students visit the US than US students visit China by a very significant margin. Um, like I said, Xi Jinping has expressed interest in increasing the number of US students who do visit China. And learn and figuring out how to increase this number is something that I'll talk about as we get onto our policy proposals. Um, and China has recently invited tens of thousands of students to the US, which is a very significant amount because as of right now, there's very few students who are studying abroad in China that are American. So for my policy recommendation, I have a few recommendations. My first one being that in order to increase the amount of US students who do visit China, we need to provide those students with the resources they need in order to be able to travel there. So, informing students and making them more knowledgeable about the fact that that is something they can do. Um, Maybe having people talk to them at schools and giving them more information on how they can travel to China to learn is one way that would help ensure that students have the resources they need in order to travel. Additionally, streamlining the travel process would make this a much easier process for American students who are trying to travel to China. Uh, Having programs where um, groups or organizations may come help students fill out forms or applications that are necessary for them to uh, visit a Chinese school and study there. Um, is one way to make this process easier and less of a stressful process, because I do think part of the reason why we see not as many students in the American students in Chinese schools is because it is a very stressful process and many students aren't prepared for that. Um, Additionally, giving incentives to travel to China, such as like grants, could help increase student willingness to travel to China. Um, Additionally, to increase the amount of Chinese students who are coming to China and also make those students who are in our country more comfortable, we could make it easier to obtain U.S. visas for Chinese students. Um, this takes away a lot of the stress of applying for a U.S. visa, which can sometimes be very finicky. Um, Additionally, giving Chinese students the opportunity to work in the United States after graduating college is another way that we could make Chinese students want to come study and make their time here easier. Additionally, the United States would gain something from this process as it would create more culturally diverse workplaces, um, and would help to build up our workforce with intelligent people who have studied in a U.S. school. Um, Additionally, um, one major issue is that um, students who are coming to America or China have to stay with people who are from that country uh, in order to in order to essentially get around often. So they'll stay with the host family. Um, it, this can be super expensive because there's not much that help in terms of financial means that host families are given. So a lot of it comes out of their pockets and the goodness of their hearts, which is not always a um, great motivator to get people to want to help students who are coming to the country for the first time. Um, so, working to offset the cost of host families taking in exchange students, maybe this is in the form of a tax cut or a some kind of stipend, can help encourage families who may otherwise be willing to take in students, uh, but maybe financially don't have the means to take in students. And I think all of these, when worked together, will help to create a stronger bond between the U.S. and China on the in the education front, and create a more connected U.S.-China education exchange. And that's all I have for today. Thank you very much for listening.